All right, let's get it going. We are live. Let's share the link and then get this thing started. The mock draft for 2022 coming to you live at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Monday in the club going up on a Tuesday. Not exactly that. We're streaming about a digital video game on a Monday, so not nearly as fun as being in the club going up. But yet here we are. Here we sit doing this. So let's get right into it. Look, the Dolphins have been matching their owner's name and been in tank mode for the past 2 seasons. He is Mr. Next Year at this point. He keeps telling us that it's going to happen next year. It's going to happen next year. Watch next year. Watch next year. At this point, it's hard to believe that'll make a turnaround. Is Tank a better player than picking in the top 5 every year? Certainly. Is he a playoff team anymore? I'm not certain. That remains to be seen. He has plenty of studs on that team. Like, it's not deep. He doesn't have a ton of talent, but where he has talent, he has a bunch of studs. So he's got Tua, who's now an X Factor. He's got Drew, who's now an X Factor. Last year, he picked up 2 cornerbacks, I believe. He also has Rutherford. Now, his lines, both his defensive and offensive line, are terrible. He's got the outside linebacker, Winston, who he picked up last year. So he's got some really top-level talent, which happens when you trade away all your players and pick in the top 5. Let's see if he can turn that into wins. This year, at number 1 overall, I have him taking Mike Kitchens, the top-rated cornerback, who I believe had like one of those used to be a rugby guy, or one of those stories where it's like he used to be something else and now he's playing football, which used to mean it was a guaranteed superstar. Now it likely means they at least have a dev. We're not certain whether it's a star, superstar. He could be a normie, but chances are with one of those kind of main flight stories at the beginning of the year, he's probably going to have a dev. Tank's obviously hoping that he's going to be a superstar dev. The guy ran a 4.35 40. He's 6 foot tall, 195 out of NC State, only 21. But what's impressive about this guy is he's got 25 bench reps, which is huge for a guy who runs that fast. Usually when those guys run those 4.3 40s, they do like 11 bench reps or 8 bench reps. Not him. He's got a phenomenal 20-yard shuttle, phenomenal 3-cone, and the 25 bench reps. This guy is a stud. It is not really a position of need for the Dolphins, but it's hard to pass up a guy like this. As I mentioned, he just picked up Sammy Henson and Andrew Young last year. Young is obviously the lower rated of the two, but he's just as good. 92 speed, 90 acceleration. He just used a def bump on Noah Igabibababa. And then we also have Sammy Henson, who again, drafted just last year at the top of the 2nd round, a kid with 94 speed, 95 acceleration. So the Dolphins will have quite a secondary with the addition of Kitchens. Again, not a position of need. I think Jabari Parker, the defensive tackle out of TCU, is the position of need, and that's where I have the Rams going at 2 overall. Looking to kind of find Aaron Donald's replacement. He is getting older. Look, he's an X Factor. He's a 99. That guy's going to be 90 plus for years to come. He's a right end, not a D tackle anymore. So you got Sean Robinson in there. Get this kid Jabari Parker out of TCU in there. 6'4", 298, 21 years old. Ran a 4.8 40 as a D tackle. 40 friggin' bench reps, which was apparently his 3rd for defensive tackles. There must have been some monsters, but this kid was pretty much top 5 in every category, but top 3 in all the ones that matter. 1st in the 3-cone, 1st in the 20-yard shuttle, 1st in the 40-yard dash, 3rd in the bench. And if you want to put him out on some red zone sets, put him out wide to guard some fade routes, he also can do that. He's got a 30-inch vertical. This is a true athlete, only 21 years old. I'd be floored if he also doesn't have at least a star dev, probably looking at a superstar dev. Shame that he will go to the computer, which I think if you are Tank, you're kind of in a good position because I think the computer's taking that number 1 overall prospect, so you kind of get the 2 guys you want, assuming you don't want Parker. If he goes Parker with the 1st overall pick, I then think the computer would take Antoine Goodson, the wide receiver out of Texas, who I don't think Tank wants. I have him going Lamar Saunders. So I think Tank's going to get to the guys he wants regardless, but I have him taking the cornerback, Mike Kitchens, and then the wide receiver, Lamar Saunders. Is it a reach? Yes. Is he probably going to be a lower overall and a lower dev than the Reynolds kid who we saw won the Heisman? Yes, but he ran a 4.24 40. Even more impressive is the 20-yard shuttle, 3.99. Very rarely do you see that below 4 seconds. He only did 16 bench reps, but when you can run that fast, who cares? Red flag alert for me. He's 23 years old. He's 6'1". He's frail. It could be an injury-prone guy, but when he runs that fast, who the hell cares? Pair him up with Drew and Rutherford, and Tua may actually not have to throw the ball to the other team as much. I do have a little bet going with Tank that if he can keep it under 20 interceptions this season, I will send him my third-round pick free of charge. I'm fairly confident the third-round pick is staying in Denver because there's zero chance that Tua stays under 20 interceptions, minus injury or Tank just not playing him, in which case I will just call stop the count, and he's not going there. But if Tua plays all 16 games and plays all, the vast majority of the snaps and throws under 20 interceptions, I will gladly send my third, especially if he's got a guy like Saunders. Tank's going to be way too tempted to throw the ball a ton to those young wide receivers, and he's going to throw a ton of picks yet again, which brings us to another one of these wide receivers. We already kind of mentioned it. This wide receiver class is really, really good. I think it's more top-heavy than last year's. Last year's you could get a starter in like the third, fourth, fifth round. I don't think you'll see that as much in this class, but there are some really, really good prospects here. Antoine Goodson is one of them, the deep threat out of Texas. He ran a 4.5 40 with a 4.03 20-yard shuttle. So I know that 4.5 probably scares the human players away, but when you pair that with the 4.03 20-yard shuttle, it says to me he's probably going to be 92, 91 speed as opposed to that 88 speed, which you think of when you see the 4.5. I would bet he's 91, 92 speed. The reason I have the computer taking him is because he's just rated higher than Alex Reynolds. He's a third overall. Alex Reynolds is fifth overall. I think the computer tends to go with the best guy available if they can, which brings us to 3 of the top 5 picks being wide receivers. Alex Reynolds goes to the Falcons, who take Julio's replacement. Look, Julio Jones, 33, 94 overall. He's probably going to retire before he's not good anymore. He's still got 93 speed, 92 acceleration, everything you can ask for, 97 spectacular catch. He doesn't really need a wide receiver. He got Terry Mullins last year, who we talked about in the draft. This will be the second year in a row the Falcons are going with a number 1 overall wide receiver. I just think it's too much to pass up when you got that Heisman Trophy story. He's probably going to be a star or superstar. I would say it's like a 70-30, 70% chance he's a superstar, 20% or 30% chance he's a star, but you're probably getting a dev there. And at 5 overall, hard to pass that up. I would say the Falcons are getting Julio's replacement, which brings us to Teddy and the Texans. Had a lot of things kind of shift and change as I was doing this morning. We had the free agency jump. There were a couple stories that shifted some guys draft position, and you guys can go check those out. They're still available in the draft stories menu. But there were some CBs that changed. I think a tight end change or something like that. But anyway, for the most part, I have the positions where I think they're going to be, especially the top 10 to 16. It got really hard after 16. I just kind of started throwing kind of stuff against the wall and thinking about positions, less so much the player and more the positions, because the way I do this, I should reiterate, is I just kind of put some parameters on myself. I don't want to give away a 5th round gem or a 4th round gem if you guys didn't do the scouting. This is more for suspend your disbelief. These guys are rated in the top rounds. This is where I think they're going to go. So basically the player has to be at least rated 2nd round early or higher to be included in this. So there's no quarterbacks because there weren't any quarterbacks rated that high this year. It's a bad draft for quarterbacks, but I do think one's going to go in the 1st round. I don't know who's going to reach. I think we'll get down here around, I think it's like Colts Bucks in that 14 to 18 range is when you might see that quarterback go, but we'll save that for when we get down there. Alex Ellison, the cornerback is going to be the second cornerback off the board. He's the second-rated cornerback, too. He's no slouch. He ran 4.38, 4.14 in the 20-yard shuttle, only did 9 bench reps. So that's where you see that huge drop-off where we talked about Kitchens has those 20-plus bench reps. This guy only has 9. He is 23 as opposed to 21, so he's a much lesser prospect than Kitchens. But as far as Madden goes, he's going to be just fine. How often do you want your cornerback setting the edge? Not too often. Will it help him impress? Sure, 100%. But it doesn't matter if your cornerback does 9 bench reps or 25 bench reps. You're not looking at that. That's just kind of like the cherry on top. And Kitchens has the cherry on top, but Ellison is a nice consolation prize at 6 overall. The Texans, I think, are going to have to go defense. They could have replaced Watt here if Jabari Parker somehow falls. He's not going to. They've got some ends they could kind of work with. Amenahue and Blacklock, they can definitely kind of get by with them. You might want to try to get someone in that front 7. But here you have some aging guys who aren't great. Gary Conley, Bradley Roby, Vernon Hargreaves. None of them are great. He does have Kyrie Hicks, who I believe he picked up last year. Yes, in the 4th round. 92 speed, 89 acceleration. So for a 4th-round pick, a guy who's a fringe starter, the Texans did really well for themselves. But I think they go ahead and get that number 1 cornerback at 6 in Alex Ellison out of, where is he out of? Nebraska. Brasky man. Cornhusker. All right, let's go to the... Yes, it is a lot of tabs, so if you haven't noticed, what I do is I bring up every single team here so I can just go through them. It's what I do. Anyway, we're here now at the Browns, where I think they just traded J.C. Tretter. Numbers-wise, this is going to be a reach because Keegan Murray is the 19th rated prospect, but he's a fit and he's a need and he's a good player. 22 years old. He's he is top 5 in every single category combine-wise. He's top 2 in a lot of them. He's 4th in the bench press, which is 32 reps, which is no slouch, under 5-second 40, just barely over 5-second 20-yard shuttle, under 7.5 3-cone. So for a big man in the middle, Keegan Murray is going to do work for years to come there in the mistake by the lake. I just think it makes too much sense. You just traded J.C. Tretter. You've got Beckham. You've got Wilds. They've got the other young kid they like. They're trying to offload Landry, so it's not as if they need those skill position players. They'll go ahead and they will go with Keegan Murray, the center, out of Alabama. Roll Tide. Brings us to another computer team, the Cowboys. At this point, I think Levi Vickers will be the top player left that I think the computer will go after. So right end, run stopper out of LSU, Levi Vickers. Let's pull them up. Reason is, look, they've got holes in certain places, but they can get by on the O-line. Why I think this is because you got DeMarcus Lawrence getting old, and there's not a ton besides Mello Wiley there in the cupboard, so to speak. Gallimore is young and okay, but they need some interior defensive line help. And I think this kid, Levi Vickers, can be the one. 6'5", 291, can knock down to D-tackle if you need him to. 20-yard shuttle, did really well, was the fastest or quickest, I should say. D-end at 4.5 flat, 27 bench reps. So I don't know that he can make a living at D-tackle, but he can definitely play there, especially on rundowns. He's not your run-stuffing Michael Pierce kind of type, but he's going to be plenty fine, and I think the Cowboys have found a starter there. Brings us to the Jaguars, who always seem to end up with like a top 10 pick, even though he goes to like the AFC divisional round or AFC championship game every year. Always ends up there. This is another reach, but it's just such a need for him. He lost CJ Mosley. He lost Levante David. He needs players in the pretty much the top-rated middle linebacker, Taquan Sheets, out of LSU again. A lot of these LSU, SEC, Bama guys, which we know happens in real life. This kid is projected an early second rounder. That's why he made the cut. Ran the 40-yard dash in 4.55, so he's plenty fast enough. Bench reps 25, which, again, the same as that corner. I can't emphasize this enough, how strong that corner is that's going at the top of this draft. Taquan Streets did 25 bench reps as well, which is going to be just fine for him. He'll fit right in, slide right in. I don't know. I know A. Smith likes to move these guys to outside linebacker, middle linebacker, doesn't really matter. He may move Rashaan Evans to outside, move that guy to outside, but either way, he needs some 4-3 backer help. He's pretty thin there. He's got a 66 overall slated to start. Quincy Williams is fast, but he's not very good. Rashaan Evans is the opposite. He's not very fast, but he is very good. So I think Taquan Streets, best of both worlds for them, brings us to the Chargers. I am not going to lie here. Full disclosure, as I was pressing stream on this, I saw that the Chargers and Jets made a trade. Looked at my mock, saw I had them both going edge at 20 and 10, so I just copy and pasted the logos, just cut and copy and pasted. I had, down here you'll see, I had the Chargers going Kyle Roberts, right outside linebacker, and the Jets going Bobby Brown, left outside linebacker. So I just kept it as it was because I think the Chargers need some help. And Bobby Brown here, not the one who basically got Whitney addicted to drugs, but the white Bobby Brown out of Mizzou, 23 years old. So again, I know a lot of us don't like to draft those 23 and 24-year-olds. 40-yard dash, 4.61 first. Vert jump, first. 3-cone, first. 20-yard shuttle, first. And bench reps, he was fifth. 26 bench reps. He's really, really good. 23 years old. Not exactly ideal when you're picking in the top 10. You want those 21, 22-year-old. But sometimes, look, the need's just there. And here's what he's going to do. He's probably going to pop down to end and replace Melvin Ingram, who is now 33, 79 overall. He's going here, and that's where he's going to go. He's going to go to the white Bobby Brown, who may like white stuff up his nose as well. I don't know, but I'm just talking about his skin tone, his complexion. He is not. What was Bobby? New Edition? Oh man. I don't know. But either way, he's not a boy band. He's an outside linebacker. And that brings us to the Washington football team. They have issues on the interior, and I know that offensive line, they scare people. But this kid, Hooker, is rated 2 overall. So I think he may get snagged by a computer. Who knows? He's only 21, just over 5-second 40, 33 bench reps, power, archetype, 20-yard shuttle, 5.13, 3-cone, best out of all the guards, under 7.5. So again, this kid's an athlete. He's 21, plenty of time to grow. And I think we're a year away from another offensive line dev bump. So worst case scenario, he's normal. You can use that dev bump on him. I just really think that the Skins can't pass up the potential there of a 21-year-old athletic monster mauler in the middle of that line when you're working with Wes Martin at a 68 overall and then old-ass Austin Blythe at a 77 overall. Look, does the offensive line play better than their rating? Yes, 100%. But at the end of the day, you need some athletes on the interior, and Kevin Hooker is that guy for the Washington football team. Our favorite man back from the dead, the league zombie, for the Raiders. Would he love for one of those speedy wide receivers to fall to him? Yes, whether it's Goodson, who's not quite as fast, but he's fast enough, Reynolds, or, God forbid, Saunders. He could pair them up with Ruggs. I'm sure that's what he would want. But his D-line needs some help, and I think that's where he's going to look to go here. He's got Carl Nassib, who's not great. He's old. He's a 77 overall. Mario Leonard, last year's rookie, took him in the second round, got a steal, got this kid all the way up to a 75. He's not got great, really finesse moves or power moves, but a lot of his other athletic skills are great. The 88 acceleration, the 80 speed. Kid's almost 300 pounds, and he's got 88 acceleration. That's great. If you can get these finesse move, pass move, block shed numbers up, you've got a monster. But for right now, he's it on the D-line. Really don't have much else to write home about. Maurice Hurst is good, but he's aging. Jonathan Hankins, again, decent, but aging. I'm thinking he's got to go with the boy Ben Booker out of Florida, the Gator, 22 years old, 4.77 40. So another one of those big kids that's going to kind of match up really nicely with Mario Leonard. I just think he's going to have those better, those kind of skills to match up. The hands will match up with the kind of the athleticism. But that's what happens when you're picking a guy between the second round and then right in the top 15. He's going to be more refined. Kid Ben Booker had 29 bench reps, so really strong. 20-yard shuttle 4.74. Under the 7.5. The 3-cone is 7.36, and the 40-yard dash again under 4.8. So again, really good for that heavier kind of powerful end. If you're looking for the edge rusher, yeah, you want them at 4.6. Granted, but this guy's 280 pounds, 6'5", and he ran a 4.740. He's going to be a monster on the interior, and I do think that the Raiders could do a lot worse there. Brings us to another computer team, the Bears, who actually have 2 first-round picks. Look, David Montgomery is plenty good, especially if you are a user. Here's the problem. 86 speed. Pretty terrible. I have them going Jordan Cox, the halfback out of Ole Miss. Kid ran a 4.42 40. More importantly, the 20-yard shuttle in 4.17. 22 years old, elusive back. He's got that, the height, kind of 6 foot 195. So it's not like he's some slight guy. I think the Bears just got rid of Cohen, so they're not looking for that, obviously. And this is where I think you're going to see these running backs kind of start to fly off the board. There's only a few really this year that are worth drafting, and as far as this kind of setup goes, there were only 2 that were even eligible to be drafted, which brings us to Bryson Streets. I think this could be where we see the reach for some of those quarterbacks. You've got a second-round grade on John Parks, a second-round grade on Mike Beach, and then it's all the way down to Elijah McCain, 4th round. So there were no first-round grades on any of the quarterbacks. You could see Parks or Beach here. I don't know if that's what he prefers. We'll see. But for this draft, the parameters I put on it, as I like to say, I think he's going to go Bryson Streets, who along with the cornerback at the top, Mr. Mike Kitchens, had another one of those stories where I think like his parents were in the Olympics or something, one of those weird stories. The big issue with him is he's 24. Here's where it makes up for it, though. Kid ran a 4.37 40 and a 6.76 3-cone. So he's going to have that speed, agility, or even if he's 24, and let's say he's got a star dev. Let's say he's not superstar. Let's say he's star. 4.37, 6.76. You have one breakout game with him. All of a sudden, you've got a superstar running back on your hands that's, let's say, 95 speed, and he's probably 73 overall. So at the minimum, by the time this kid's 26, you're probably looking at an 82 overall, 95 speed running back. You could do a lot worse for yourself at 14 overall, and I think that's what the Bucs will do because they let Ronald Jones walk. They have Leonard Fournette, who, again, is serviceable, but he's 27. Behind him, they got Keyshawn Vaughn, who doesn't do anything great, but he's a fine backup. I just think you got to go with the kid, Bryson Sheets, out of Alabama. Brings us to the Colts. It's going to be too much to pass up here, talent-wise, position-wise. Cameron Williams, the number 9 overall prospect out of Florida, 21 years old, under 5-second 40, 36 bench reps, 3rd in both of those, top 5 in the 3-cone and the 20-yard shuttle. So again, an athletic freak. Are you worried about whether or not he's got a dev? Certainly. But the Colts really can't mess around anymore. I think they still trot Anthony Costanzo out there, who's getting old and worse. And then they've got on the other end Eric Fisher. So they've got issues along the line. This kid, Gillislee, I believe was last year. Yes, he was picked last year as a star dev. I think it was the OL bump that we did last year, 87 strength. So this kid's a monster, and I think to pair him with Cameron Williams, whether you play him at left tackle or right tackle out of Florida, I think that's the look to go. Could they use a quarterback as well? Certainly. They went out and signed Cam Newton in free agency. The Jags got their man in Michael McCann and let Cam walk. I was trying to do a little thing there, but I only went 3 words. Man, McCann, and then Cam. It was like approximate rhyme. But I don't know that Cam is the answer. So long term, you're probably going to have to find somebody else. He found out, unfortunately, that Caleb Robinson was not able to kind of lead the team. That kid struggled a lot, and through no fault of his own. Let's see what he ended up at. Yeah, he ended up actually only playing in, I guess, 1 or 2 games through the 4 picks, and we went elsewhere. So here we are. Cameron Williams, left tackle, to protect the quarterback at some point. We don't know who it's going to be. My dogs are excited by that pick. They love Cameron Williams. The left tackle brings us to the tackles are going to start flying off the board now, right? Braden Pendleton, who, again, hard to pass up this value. He's 4th overall. 5'2", 40. He's 23 years old, so a little bit older than you like, but agile archetype with over 30 bench reps. You're going to want to take it, right? You just hope and pray you get the dev bump there. If you get him at star, he's a starter for the next 10 years. If you get him at normal, you're kind of bummed about it. But at 16 overall, they need help. They've got Aaron Rodgers. He can get you by for another year or two. Taylor Moton's getting old, but still serviceable. Here's the issue. Left tackle, 25 years old, 68, Charlie Heck. You're going to put Pendleton over there, move him to the left side, let him go ahead and do what he needs to do some pass blocking. He's pretty athletic, and vert jump, 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle, top 2 in all of those, 8th in the 40-yard dash. His bench leaves a little bit to be desired, like I said, but as an agile archetype, he's 31 reps, so he's just fine. I think you're going to go Braden Pendleton there. Brings us to the Cardinals, who are looking to make a push, a little bit mouthy in the chat, which I like. You know, he's coming for the Niners throne, and I think he's going to do that by going up the middle. Right down the middle, right, pal, right in the kisser. It's a little old school there, but he's got Fletcher Cox, right? He's got Telvin Barrow. He's got Chandler Jones, who is more of an outside guy. He's going to need more of that interior threat when Fletcher Cox goes bye-bye, which probably be happening in the next year or two. And I think he's going to go Stephen Perry here. The D tackle out of, where do I have him out of? Stanford. So clearly a smart kid. 33 bench reps, 4.9, 640, so he's fast for a heavier set guy. He's 299. You could bump him over to end if you want to run that 3-4. Looks like Cardinals kind of runs a little bit of a, I don't know, like a hybrid. I know he just wanted to change Isaiah Simmons' one of his abilities to more of like an edge rusher kind of one. So I don't know if he runs like a hybrid kind of deal where he's got like that 4-3 under kind of thing going on. But this kid can easily pop out Stephen Perry to be like a 3-4 interior D end. You got Chandler Jones getting old. You got Fletcher Cox, who he just got in that trade from the Eagles. Again, another older guy. Both are very, very good, but you're going to have to look to the future at some point. Pretty set up here at corner with Byron Murphy, Bryce Callahan, and then you got behind them this kid Delonte Leonard, who he got last year, 90 speed, 94 acceleration. You want to get this zone coverage up, but he's just fine for a first-year player. Could see him go corner for sure. Don't be surprised if they end up, though, going on the D-line with Stephen Perry. Brings us to another computer pick. I think at this point in time, one of the best players available for the computer will be Elijah Boone, the wide receiver out of Michigan. Kid ran a 4.53. Again, 4.0, 520-yard shuttle, so quicker than fast. 24 years old. Has a pretty decent like athletic setup. Is he the most athletic guy? No, but he's one of those quick guys will be just fine in the slot. 6'7", 8, 3-cone, 4.05, 20-yard shuttle, 5'11", 209, so just fine. 24 years old. I don't see a user taking him, so he'll be there when the computer picks there at 18. Brings us to number 19, the Vikings. The Vikings were literally right there. They got beat by the Steelers, I believe it was, the last week, and they missed out on the playoffs because of it. They have issues in the secondary, if I remember properly. They do indeed have 25-year-old 79, 25-year-old 75. So again, these guys are getting out of the devable area. Once they hit 26, it's hard to dev him up. He is a star dev, so that's nice. Gladney was a rookie a couple of years ago. He's a normal dev, so he's not going to get much better than that. They only have 4 corners and a free safety. Harrison Smith walked. They've got some issues in the secondary. Could they go after a safety here? Certainly. I think they're going to go after Jermaine Philbin is the best one of the bunch, whether it's free safety, whether it's corner, whatever, strong safety. I think the best one of the bunch left is Jermaine Philbin, 5'11", 21 years old out of Wake Forest, 4.48 40, 4.16 20-yard shuttle, and again 15 bench reps as a corner. Not quite in that 25 range, which again I can't get. Like, I know people are floored by Saunders' 40. I can't get over Kitchen's bench reps. It's insane to me that a Corner has 25 bench reps. That kid could be a friggin' strong safety, and he's going to be a corner, and he's going to be a monster down there in South Beach. Again, already talked about 20 with the Jets. He likes to run a lot of those hybrid looks where is he 3-4, is he 4-3, is he 4-4, is he 4-6, who the hell knows. So he likes those hybrid guys. Kyle Roberts fits the bill there. He is, let's see where he's out of. Why'd I go this way? I don't know why I do what I do sometimes. Speed rusher out of Stanford. White kid, so if he were in the real NFL, you'd hear announcers say, like, smart, headsy player, reads the defense well. You know, all those buzzwords for white guy. 21 years old, 4'6", 140, which you love. Second fastest right outside linebacker. 25 bench reps, fine for an outside linebacker. The shuttle in the 3-cone, again, top 10. He was basically top 10 in every single category except for the bench reps. So this kid is an athlete. He's that kid that can kind of play D-end or the outside linebacker edge. You can't really kick him into a 3-4 end. He's only 260 pounds, but he can play a lot of multiple sets, and I know that Steph likes to do that a lot on defense, mix it up, whether he's in the 3-4 or the 4-3, kind of keep you guessing, and I think Kyle Roberts fits that mold there. The Chiefs just traded Chris Jones and Von Miller. I think they're going to look to rebuild that defensive line, and what a better way to do that than to give them a bone. Am I right? I'll throw the Chiefs a bone here. See what I did there? Throw the Chiefs a bone. Bronson Bone, the right end, out of, where are you? Out of Alabama, again, 22 years old, 6'5", 269, so again, more of your edge guy, 4'5", 940, top 10 in the 20-yard shuttle and the 3-cone, 718, 462 respectively, 26 bench reps. So he's more of an edge rusher for sure. He will replace Von Miller more than he will replace Chris Jones, but the Chiefs definitely need to replace that D-line. Don't be surprised if they go after a tight end with one of these two picks, because they also got rid of Travis Kelce. So don't be surprised to see him go after one of these tight ends. Now, none of the tight ends qualified based on where they're listed, but you got Darren Hooks, Angelo Brookins, John Calhoun, Ben Peralta, and Randy Hamilton, as well as Tresman Simmons, all with second-round grades. So you're probably going to see one or two of them kind of eke their way into the first round. Could be the Chiefs there at the tail end, and I do think that the Jags are also going to be looking for a tight end. So here's kind of where you'll start to see those tight ends creep in my opinion. Just didn't work out with the way I have it set up. Which brings me to the Ravens. They are pretty well set at a lot of different positions. The one area where they don't have a lot of weapons is wide receiver. They've got Hollywood Brown and not a lot else. I think they traded Devin Duvernay. Miles Boykin just hasn't developed for whatever reason. Then you got Antonio Callaway, but so they've got players, just no one that's really good. And for that reason, I think they're going to go after the kid Mike Fells, the wide receiver out of scrolls. Penn State, slot kid, 21 years old, 6'1", 192, 4'4", 240, 414 20-yard shuttle, 6'8", 3-cone. So again, he's not the most athletic guy at all, but everything ticks every box. It's like, is he the fastest? No, but he's really fast. Is he the quickest? No, but he's really quick. Is he the strongest? No, but he's pretty damn strong. So at 21 years old, only issue is the slot archetype. I don't think a lot of people run a scheme that picks a slot archetype. You just got to hope that he's close enough in another one that you can get him to a scheme fit, whether you do physical. I think most of us do physical and deep threat are the two kind of ones that I see mostly, but very well people may run with their slot as their main wide receiver archetype, but I think it's typically deep threat and physical are the ones that you see. So Mike Fells will go on the other side of Hollywood there in Baltimore, and I do think that pairs up really, really nicely and will give other teams fits, because when you play the Ravens, you can kind of key on Lamar and Hollywood and not much else. Obviously the tight end Andrews, but after that, you kind of just take away those kind of things. With Fells out there, it makes it much harder to take away 3 or 4 options as opposed to just 1 or 2. So I think Mike Fells to the Ravens, it would be a great pick. Brings us to Bengals. They traded down from 10. Don't love it, but he got Little, the guard, and that is huge because it's hard to get young guards with devs, and he got that. So it's hard to fault him for trading down. However, in this draft, I do feel like there's a pretty big drop-off. After about 14, there's a pretty big drop-off. So if you can be in that top 10 to 15, you can get a really, really good player. After that, you're still going to get a solid player, but there's going to be holes in their game. And I think that trading out of that top 15 is understandable, seeing as he got the young offensive lineman with the dev. I think he's going to go on the defensive side of the ball, and I think he's going to go with cornerback LaMichael McCree. Does not have young, solid corners. 29, 28, 30, 26, 27. The youngest one is 24, and he's only a 69. But I think for that reason, he's going to go with LaMichael McCree, who, again, these corners, there's a lot of them that are rated in the first round. There's so many of them. So it's kind of take your pick. Which do you like more? Do you want the guy with the higher 40-yard dash, or do you want the guy with the higher 20-yard shuttle? Because I know some people prefer that acceleration, change direction when they're trying to guard those slants or those corner routes. They think that that is more important than the speed. I tend to think that the speed is the most important, but there's a lot of arguments to be made like, well, if he can't guard a corner or a slant, what the hell's any good anyway? However, LaMichael McCree does both of them well. 4.46 40, 4.16 20-yard shuttle. He's 5'10", so he's not a small guy. The archetype is a slot. So again, I think most of us either like man or zone kind of in our schemes we pick, but he should be close enough in man or zone to get you where you need to go. 14 bench reps, so plenty strong enough for a corner. As I said, a lot of them come in under 11, under 10, so at 14, he's just fine. 32.9 vert jump isn't the greatest, and only being 5'10", he can be susceptible to some jump balls, but if you're picking at 23rd, you could do a lot worse than LaMichael McCree out of Texas A&M. Brings us down to the Packers. I don't know. When I look at some of these rosters, it's hard to tell. Are they a 3-4 team? Are they a 4-3 team? Because he's got Rashawn Gary at end, but then he's got Preston Smith and Ty Summers at right outside linebacker, who are nothing alike, but they're both at right outside linebacker. So I don't know if he's running a 4-3, a 3-4, but I do think he has some really good interior pressure with Dwight Madison, this kid Marco Fernandez, Doug Harreld. Like, he's got some young, kind of bulky ends. So it leads me to believe he kind of plays a 3-4 when push comes to shove. So you can see this kid's got hella good block shed. Must be a run stopper archetype. But anyway, I think he's going to go after Ben Haynes, the right outside linebacker here. He needs some of that edge presence. Could he move Gary to outside linebacker? Certainly. I just think he needs more than that because Preston Smith is getting old. You're going to end up going Ben Haynes out of Tennessee. He is actually the top rated outside linebacker, right outside linebacker anyway, and he runs a 4.66 40, 17 bench reps, 4.73. He's 23 years old, so that's the reason why I have him going after Kyle Roberts. Kyle Roberts is 21, had more bench reps, and ran faster, so I think that he's the more attractive prospect, even though Ben Haynes is rated higher. So you're going to get a really solid, polished player here. Ben Haynes, 24 overall, helps solidify that edge if the Packers do indeed play the 3-4, which it looks like they do, and I think they need more of an edge present with Preston Smith getting older. Give Rashawn Gary some help on the other side. Here with the Chiefs, like I said, don't be surprised if it ends up being a tight end. However, they don't have a ton in the back end. They're solid and they're talented. Juan Thornbill, Kareem Jackson, Tedrick Thompson. Those guys are a pretty damn good trio. However, two of the three are pretty damn old, right? He's 34, Kareem Jackson, Tedrick Thompson's 27, and they're both just at an 80 overall. So I do think that you could see the Chiefs go here if they're not going tight end. Dwight Mason, the free safety, who is Perry Mason's cousin, the lawyer, Dwight Mason's at a USF, 22 years old, 4.53 40, 24 bench reps, 6.99 3-cone. The 20-yard shuttle leaves a little bit to be desired at 4.36, but it's not like he's got to be super twitchy. He's going to be guarding tight ends and playing over the top. It's not like he's going to be guarding a slot wide receiver too often. So 4.53, 4.36, 24 bench reps, 22 years old, is a run support archetype, so you got to think he's probably got that decent hit power when you look at the bench reps. Usually, that's kind of how you can tell. If the run support, high bench reps, probably pretty high hit power. The lower the bench reps, typically the lower the hit power, especially on safeties. I mean, that's not always fast and true, but by and large, just by looking at guys kind of, physicals and archetypes, you can kind of tell what they are. Brings us to the Jets. We talked about these first round corners. There's a lot of different ones, a lot of different strokes for different folks. We know the Jets like the speed, right? So I think he overlooks some of the higher rated guys and goes for the 26th overall rated prospect, Xavier Sherrod, 4.38. Kid can run in a straight line. Does have issues. 20-yard shuttle is 4.32. The three cone's better at 6.90. But again, you're probably not going to see him one-on-one against guys like Mecole. He's more of your outside corner. Keep him outside, and he will be just fine. A little low on the vert jump, 32.6, especially for only being 5'10", but he stays outside, he'll be fine. Bring him in the slot and try to guard some of those quick slot wide receivers. He could struggle, but that 4.38 speed's too much to pass up this late in the draft. I think the Jets go get Xavier Sherrod, the cornerback out of Tennessee. Brings us to the Bucs' second pick. They got this from me, traded for the Dean, who played pretty well. I'm not going to lie. I'm not regretting the pick, but anytime it's draft day and you don't have a pick, you're like, damn, did I really need to give up a first-round pick? And I think he's going to go after Carl Johnson, Michigan State, 23 years old. Let me get out of the Chiefs. Let me show you the Jets real quick. So at corner, they're pretty solid, right? They got Marshawn Lattimore, Javelin Guidry, but after that, Bryce Hall's bigger and slower. Isaiah Rodgers is fast enough. He's 94 speed, but he's only 72 overall. So I think you're going to go for another speedster to kind of replace Bryce Hall. We all know Steph likes to play that 3.26. So Akilu Weatherspoon getting old, still pretty damn physical, but he's getting old. He's going to drop off big time. At safety, he's fine. So that's why I think Steph's going to go with a fast cornerback. Bucs, I have him going with the outside edge rusher here. He's got Reuben Foster. He's got about 400 linebackers. Demario Davis. It looks like, though, he runs a 3-4 with A.J. Espinosa. He's not really an edge guy. DJ Boatwright isn't really an edge guy. He's 276 pounds. Not got that. He does have quite a good bit of acceleration, actually. I lied, but he's got 78 power move. So he's more of an interior guy, 72 block shed. So pretty damn good. Definitely more of a 3-4 end. So I think they need that edge presence, and Carl Johnson can bring that a little slower than you would like. 4.88 40, 27 bench reps though. Pretty athletic with that 10.6 broad jump. I know there's arguments, does it mean anything? I think broad jump kind of signifies a little bit of explosion and athleticism, and he was the first overall outside linebacker in the broad jump. Again, Madden is weird, and we don't know how things work with one another. We know straight up the 40 is speed, bench press is strength. Like those ones we know, but then there's other ones we don't kind of know how exactly they tie in. Like we know 3-cone and the 20-yard shuttle are both related to agility, acceleration, and change of direction, but we don't know how each is weighted with each. So it's kind of one of those weird ones with broad jump, 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle, because we know what they kind of are related to, but we don't know directly. I think Carl Johnson is going to be that explosive athlete, even if the numbers don't jump off the page. He has another guy on the other side of the ball, Mike Evans, who's very similar to that. Mike Evans is a 91 speed. If you've ever played the Bucs, Mike Evans plays about like a 95 speed. He will roast you deep. It's kind of annoying, actually, because you're like, the guy's only got 91 speed. What the hell's going on? And he's fucking 80 yards downfield past you. So Carl Johnson, left outside linebacker out of Michigan State, goes to Tampa Bay, which is no longer Tampa Bay. There could be another quarterback pick there. One of those second rounders creeping up into the first round. Falcons, their second pick of the first round. I think at this point you're kind of just picking for need, right? And I think right tackle, Levanta Flowers out of Florida, 23 years old, is going to be the pick. And let me see if I can show you why. Staying in the AFC South, right tackle, because his right tackle's buns, right? John Flores, 25 years old, only a 66 overall. Jake Matthews getting old. He can probably get by for another year. Right guard, 76. He can get by. He's only 25. Matt Hennessy, 24. He can get by, 72, right? But Caleb McGarry, 27, 70. He's soon to regress. Once they hit 28, they regress. He's got one more year, and he will be buns, like 68-ish, right? So I think you go ahead and get Levanta Flowers. Hope and pray he's got a dev. Kid had 35 bench reps as an agile archetype. So he's going to be stronger than your typical agile guy. So you might even get lucky and get a higher pass block power or run block power based on that bench rep, right? Because if you're deving up an agile guy, it's usually your pass block finesse, run block finesse. But if you can get the higher bench reps and run block power or pass block power are high, and then you don't have to worry about deving them up too, it's all that much more important, because you don't have to waste points saying, okay, I want to get pass protector a little higher because he's got a 42 pass block power. Looks like with this kid with the 35 bench reps, he should be good. You just got to hope he's got a dev. If it's normal, you still have a starter, but it just hurts because he's only going to go up, 7-8 points tops his whole career. Damian Burrows, the next pick, number 29 overall, Tennessee. Look, the Titans took Hendricks a little too early last year. I think even he would admit that. He did use his over the hump bump on him, so he's now a star dev. He's got some solid stats, right? 75 block shed, 74 power move, 78 speed, 81 acceleration, 88 strength. But it's just hard when you see Solomon and Telvin Barrow in Arizona after you took this kid like third or fourth overall. You kind of wanted more out of him there. But I do think the Titans are going to stay on the defensive side of the ball, and I think they're going to look to kind of, help out the back end. Byard is great. Hooker is a great backup, and he probably has to play over Vaccaro at this point, right? Kenny Vaccaro is now 31 years old, only a 74, so you got to think Hooker's probably the starter. So why not go get another free safety to put back there? Damian Burrows, I think, will be the pick. Let me see. Where are you, Damian? You are up here a little higher because the other guy was faster. Out of Central Michigan, 22 years old, 4.55, 4.4, 420-yard shuttle. 3-cone was 6.96, so again, pretty quick. The 4.55 was the 40. I figured you guys put that together. 20 bench reps, so again, zone archetype, 20 bench reps. You got to figure there's a good little combination there. Usually when there's zone, you're looking in that 16 to 18 range. So the fact that he's 20 bench reps, you're happy with. He's only 22, you're happy. Ran a 4.55 40, so he's probably going to be in that 88 speed, which is plenty fine for a free safety. I think that's where the Titans go. Brings us down to the Eagles, who just lost Fletcher Cox in a trade. I think he still has no one. Brandon Graham retired, I believe, or got traded. I don't know which. But he's got O'Shane Zimenez, Kenny Wilkins, Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave. So he needs some help at edge, most likely. I believe he's still in a 4-3. Jeff Craig will fill the void there. He was one game short. Almost made it back to the Super Bowl. Just fell short. And I think he's kind of looking to retool. So Jeff Craig out of Wake Forest will help do that. 23 years old, ran a 4.6 240, 23 bench reps, 4.63 20-yard shuttle. Again, 253 pounds, so he's a pure edge guy. You're not going to push him into a 3-4 end. He's definitely your 4-3 end, true 4-3 D end. Do not take this guy thinking he's versatile and you can move him all around. That 4.62 40 is going to be nice for him. He'll do fine coming off the edge. Another, and the Dolphins cannot, I repeat, cannot. Will he? Probably, but I don't think the Dolphins can ignore their D-line anymore. You got Eric McIntyre. My wife's looking at me like I'm a psychopath. Want to say hi?
No.
And she does not want to say hi. 6'1", 267. So again, a pure edge guy. 4.69 40. So he's a little slower than Craig, but he's quicker than Craig. Craig, blow the whistle, Craig. There's a little shout out for everyone who liked the movie Miracle. Craig, blow the whistle, Craig. 3-cone, 7.15, 20-yard shuttle, 4.55. So again, very quick. Almost hit 30 bench reps, so very strong. Another one of those speed, strength guys that we know Tank loves. He likes the big man go fast, big man push, plays very hard. 6'1", 267. He's not a 3-4, and do not get it twisted. This guy's a pure 4-3 end as well. But I think Eric McIntyre out of Washington will do just fine when he switches coasts, which brings us to Darren Hooks, the tight end. Had a Jacksonville. Well, he's not out of Jacksonville, but he's going to Jacksonville. Why do I think Jacksonville's going to take a tight end here? Let me show you why. Here, click. Nick Boyle, Trey Burton, pretty terrible. I think Boyle's got like a dev. He's like superstar. I think it's like Nasty Streak or something weird like that, or Post Up. Post Up, yeah. So he can double team. Neat. That's what I want out of my tight end in 2020. You can friggin' double team. Wee! No, that's not what you want out of your tight ends in 2020. I do not look. I can't be more transparent about this. I do not think Darren Hooks is going to be the guy he takes. He ran a 4.7 240, 25 bench reps. He's somehow a vertical threat, so he's probably going to block better than you would imagine most vertical threats will. But at 4.72, he's probably not taking him. He's just the only one who fit into the mold. He was an early second rounder. Brookins is a mid-second rounder, so I couldn't include him. He ran a 4.64. John Calhoun, mid-second rounder, ran a 4.62, 21 years old. Couldn't include him. Ben Peralta, late second rounder, 4.63. Couldn't include him, 21. So it's probably going to be one of these guys that's faster, Brookins, Calhoun, Peralta. But for the rules that we have set here, it's Darren Hooks at a UCLA out of Los Angeles. Although I think, if you think about it, Tank may not take Eric McIntyre. He comes from, very, very Democrat-leaning Washington. He may not like that on the MAGA Dolphins. I don't know if he will put up with that. But I guess we'll find out tonight. Gentlemen, I believe 7 o'clock the pause draft starts. If you can get your picks in between 7 and 8, that's even better because it gives us time to make trades, get the picks in. So try your best to be on at 7 so we can get through as many picks as possible. 8, the live draft starts. I do not have a pick until I think 59, 60. I have back-to-back picks because I got the Pat's second rounder, my second rounder. Has this turned into what I have in the draft? Yes. Do I care? No, because I just spent 45, 50 minutes talking about you fuckers. I'll talk about myself for a little bit. Going to be watching Dance with the Stars on one TV, drafting on the other TV, drinking some Vizzies. Maybe I'll get lucky tonight. Maybe the wife will have one too many and we'll have a third. Just kidding. Can't happen. Well, not physically impossible, but physically very unlikely. Boys, we out. Have a good one.